Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wa salam ala rasulillah amma ba'd. It was very common for the Prophet ﷺ to just sit publicly and, naturally people came and they would sit with the Prophet ﷺ, have conversations. This was a man accessible to all and by all. And there was a man who frequently sat with the Prophet ﷺ, and this individual had a son. And his son would always play around as the men spoke. The son would go on his father's back, sit in his father's lap, until the Prophet ﷺ noticed that this man stopped coming, to these gatherings. Day passed, another day passed, and another day passed, and the Prophet is not seeing this man. So he asked around, where's so-and-so? They said, Ya Rasulullah, his son passed away. And that son that used to play, that child, said he passed away, and he's been devastated, and he hasn't been leaving his home. Of course, what did the Prophet ﷺ do? He went to go and support that individual. Healthy families, healthy relationships require us to support one another. And this idea of supporting one another, we see it as a type of virtue. And no doubt it's very virtuous. But you know what? In the Islamic conception of this idea, it's more than a virtue. It's a responsibility. And the Prophet ﷺ teaches us, Al-Muslim akhul Muslim, la yaslamuhu wa la yakhdhuluhu. A believer is a sibling of the fellow believer. And that means I don't give up my fellow Muslim. I don't leave them to perish. Right? I don't give them away to the enemies. Also, I don't leave them to fail. No. A Muslim does not do khidlan. And khidlan means to leave someone to fail. We don't do that with one another. It's a responsibility. The Prophet ﷺ is saying it's not for a Muslim to leave their fellow Muslim to fail, to suffer alone. So many hadith teach us that, if you have a neighbor who's hungry and you go to sleep with your belly full and you're able to help your neighbor, you haven't fulfilled Iman. You got some work to do. We don't leave each other behind. Rather, it is a responsibility on our shoulders to help one another. So the Prophet ﷺ, embodying this principle, gets up, goes and visits that man in his home, knocks and gets permission to enter. He enters upon the guy and he starts talking to the guy. He starts supporting this individual, lifting his morale. And the Prophet ﷺ effectively, gets this person back into spirit, and he says, "Oh, so-and-so, which would be more beloved to you? That your son comes back to this world and you live the rest of your life with your son in your presence? Or your son waits for you at the gates of paradise, and then when you return, he takes you and you enter paradise together? Which one would you rather choose?" And the man says, no, Rasulullah, I'd rather him wait for me at the gates of paradise and we go and enter paradise together. The Prophet ﷺ, he lifted this man's spirit with a few words. He was broken, devastated, and it affected his well-being. He wasn't able to leave his home. The Prophet took it upon himself to support him. Are we supporting our family members? When I look at my child, am I a source of support for that individual? Or am I a naysayer who's constantly breaking their self-esteem, breaking their morale, constantly expressing my discontent with them? You are not the way I thought you would come out. Essentially taking my own frustrations and using my child as a beating bag, or my spouse. Always just pessimism. Oh, you'll never be successful. We've been waiting, all this, and man, that kills relationships. Versus, man, I'm here to support you. Oh, my son, my daughter, my wife, my husband, what are your goals? What are your aspirations? What are you going through? I'm here to help. I'm here to lift you up. And I assure you, and be assured, oh loved one, whenever you need help, I'm the first one to be there. I'm gonna be there for you. Isn't that a lot better? Isn't that the prophetic way? And listen, man, I love this hadith. This is one of my most favorite hadith. The Prophet ﷺ says, "Man nafasa kurbatan min kurabi akhihi نفس الله عنه كربة من كرب يوم القيامة. Whoever alleviates a difficulty from their fellow Muslim, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will alleviate a difficulty for them on the day of judgment. And the Prophet ﷺ says, من يسر على معسر يسر الله له في الدنيا والآخرة. You see a fellow Muslim going through hardship, you bring ease to their life, man, Allah is going to reward you by bringing you ease in this life and the afterlife. And the Prophet continues, this is the same hadith by the way. والله في عون العبد ما كان العبد في عون أخيه. Allah will continue to help you so long as you help others. Wouldn't you want Allah's help? So when we say support one another, support your family members, man, we're saying Allah is going to reward you by Him being your support. Who else would you want to support you? Man, I want Allah to support me. And if I want Allah to support me, I'm going to go and support other people, lift their morale, ease their difficulties, be that support. And so what can we do to help other people? You see someone suffering, because that hurts, by the way. When you see a loved one going through difficulties, suffering, and you feel like, man, I don't know how to help this person, that's tremendously painful to the heart. So here are some things that we could do to support someone who's going through difficulties. Well, one, as the Prophet ﷺ did with this man, tie their difficulties back to the afterlife. Try and find a hadith that is similar to what this person is going through and the reward attributed to that person. And there was this, in the recent earthquakes, there was this elderly man who lost some of his children and some of his grandchildren. And this man is devastated, man. And an imam goes and he's talking to this elderly man. And he's supporting him, he's lifting his spirit, lifting his morale. And this imam says something brilliant. He's taking it from this hadith. He tells this man, look, wallahi, if your children and your grandchildren were given the choice to come back to this world, they wouldn't come back. Why? Because, man, they are enjoying what Allah is giving them as a result of their calamity. They're happy, man. They're doing well. Of course, this grandfather is saying, Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillah, I'm happy for them, I'm happy. If they're happy, that brings ease to my heart. So when you see someone suffering, remind them of the reward that is waiting for them as a result of their patience, as a result of their difficulty. Because we know, as the Prophet teaches us, a thorn does not prickle our skin, except that Allah rewards us for that. A second thing that we can do is highlight their strengths. You see someone suffering, say, man, I remember that one time when you were so strong, you did this, and that. It shows that you have strength. You've gone through things like this before. You're going to get through it again. When you see someone who loses a loved one and they're grieving in the condolence sessions, and you see, man, I'm just amazed how much strength you have, the patience that Allah has put in your heart. Give them that sense of strength so that they're able to go on and to move forward, to get over that initial feeling when the calamity hits, that initial sorrow. Highlight their strengths to support them, to lift them up. Your child did bad on a test. Say, yeah, okay, you did bad on this test, but remember that other test that you got an A on? Remember that other test that you got a perfect score on? It's okay, man. This seems to be an exception to who you really are. Inshallah, next time you do better, you lift their support. Man, isn't that better than saying, well, yeah, you this and you that. Why didn't you study enough? You've brought shame to me. How dare you? How are you going to get to college? How are you going to succeed? That doesn't help anyone. Not the person that is hearing this type of speech, nor the one saying it. And another thing that we can do is take care of someone, take care of their responsibilities. You know, when Ja'far radiallahu ta'ala an was martyred, the Prophet ﷺ told the people, Isla'u li ali Ja'far ta'aman. Make food for the family of Ja'far because something has come to preoccupy them. You see someone suffering, maybe you're not the best at, giving them words of advice, words of support, but what you can do is say, look, man, do you need the groceries? I can go and get groceries for you. Let me take care of this thing for you. Don't worry about it. I'm going to take care of this for you. Ease the stress and the amount of responsibilities on their shoulders, and that's a wonderful way of supporting them. And although this hadith is weak, scholars have used this as a type of virtue. The Prophet ﷺ, it's said that he has said that it is more beloved to him ﷺ, to walk with someone in need than to sit in his masjid for a month doing nothing but worship. Take this to heart and tell us about your experiences. Tell us about a time when someone supported you, how they supported you, and how that was important to you getting through that difficult time. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Assalamu alaikum everybody. Thank you for watching. If you're finding benefit in these videos, remember that every day throughout the month of Ramadan, we'll be releasing a new video. Our goal is to build a stronger family, especially in our times today when the family unit is really dissolving. It's so important for us as Muslims and to serve as a role model for all of humanity. Share these videos, like, drop a comment. We'll see you at the next video. Bismillah.